Hey, good folks. So, in this move abroad journey, I have realized a couple of things that I don't think a lot of people are really talking about, and I just wanted to inform you of. So, first off, right now I am moving to South Korea. I am 99% sure of that. There are a few things that could um, make that change. But as of right now, I'm going to South Korea. Um, and because I know where I'm going, I can kind of plow ahead. Now, in moving abroad, there are a couple of ways that you can think about it. There is the okay, I'm selling all my stuff, I'm packing up, and I'm just gonna country hop until I find a place to settle and then figure out how to settle. That's not an invalid way to go. Um, as long as you have income to support that, that's not necessarily a bad idea. What I would caution you about is there are so many things changing in the political landscape, not only in America, but around the world right now. And so, while you definitely can do that, it is good to have something more solid in place just in case any of the things happen. In one of my previous videos, I talked about the threat of people not being able to get their passport renewed or their passport just being revoked. So if you're just country hopping and you don't have a second passport or a visa to actually stay somewhere, then you may be in a little bit of trouble. So going to a country and country hopping is not the best way to do it. Um, I would encourage everyone to go get a second passport. So if you are a black person like me, then you can get a passport in Ghana. There are a couple of other countries in Africa where you can get a second passport, and I would highly suggest you research that. Um, and one, go ahead and start filling out everything so you can get that second passport. The one in Ghana is comparable in price to the passport in the US. So, one, start working on your second passport, and two, get your passport renewed if you have less than 2 years. I still have several years on mine. I am still debating whether I want to send my passport in and get it renewed or not. I don't have a lot of time to make that decision. I need to make that decision this week because I just feel like the climate that we're in right now, it is a big risk to send my passport in to get it extended. And it may be the smarter play to just get a second passport or as many passports as you can. There are a lot of countries that a lot of people are going to be able to get a passport in. If you're married to a citizen of another country, you could potentially get a passport there. If your parents were born in a different country, you could potentially get a passport there. As I mentioned, Ghana, if you have ancestry, I think Ireland also does that. So there are a lot of ways that you can potentially get a second passport without waiting years and years and years. So I suggest you, one, um, look into the places where you potentially could be eligible to get a second passport, find out everything that they need and get on it. Um, and that way, if for whatever reason you do decide to do the country hopping thing or you do move abroad and your current passport gets revoked, you have another passport. You don't have to come back to the US. Um, There are even some people now, I am not suggesting this at all, that are giving up their US citizenship. You have to look into that because there are repercussions of doing that. So just make sure you understand what that really means. But having a second passport seems like it's going to be the way to go for a lot of people, um, just because of everything that's going on. So you don't have to worry about that issue of, oh, they revoked my passport and I'm in, South Korea, or I'm in Japan, or I'm in Ireland. What do I do? You have that other passport, and so you'll be okay. There may be some other repercussions and things that you have to do, but you'll be okay. You won't have to come back to the US if you don't want to. Um, the second thing I kind of wanted to dive into is there's moving abroad has become a whole industry, um more so every year, but I noticed it really popping off about 10 years ago. Um and because of that, there are a lot of people out here who are giving you advice, telling you things to do on all the platforms. Um and with that comes a lot of scams. There are um three communities that I follow, and I have followed them for, well, I followed two of them for a while, and the third one I just found out about, but it's been around for several years, and the people that run it have lived abroad since 2015. So I suggest, one, you find a community to become a part of, because there are a lot of things that you're just not going to know. And this is so overwhelming. If you have ever moved just from one place to another, you know how much um, chaos and things you have to plan, and how overwhelming just moving from one place to the next. If you're moving to a different country, especially if it's a country where they don't speak the same language as you, it's going to be 10 times more things that you have to consider and think about. So joining a community um, is going to quell that overwhelming feeling, because you're going to have people you can ask questions to. Um, all of the communities that I have been following, um, they offer various services to help people move abroad. But even if you're just a part of like their Facebook community where they share information, you can just talk to people. Just having that support alone is worth being a part of a community. I'm not saying you have to purchase anything from anybody, but there are some of you out there who definitely need to purchase something from somebody in order to help you move abroad. Some of you can just listen to a couple of things, you can do your own research, and you're going to be fine. And there are some of us who fall in the middle where we need to specifically go to people to get information and maybe pay for a seminar or whatever, and that be all we need, because we can supplement that with our own research. But regardless of whichever you choose, finding someone who has moved abroad, or a group of people who have moved abroad, especially to the place you want to move to or are thinking about, and just having that resource is going to make you feel infinitely better. um Speaking of, I one of the communities that I just found has a summit every year, and they talk about different things about moving abroad. And I am going to their summit, and I'm really excited about it because one of the things they are specifically talking about this year is about how to make money abroad. And some of the things they're talking about um, don't have anything with working at a job in that country. So it's more like freelance work and stuff like that, which for a lot of people, a lot of foreigners, especially in 2025, is how they are living so well in a foreign country. Um, and this is a thing to keep in mind when we are watching Instagram and TikTok and all these things. People are presenting the best of what living in a foreign country is like. And there are a lot of great things. There were so many things that I loved about South Korea. There were also some things that I did not like when we visited. But unless one, you have a community to talk to people about, and figure these things out before you go, you're not gonna know. But also, you want to be careful when like picking a person to follow and listen to or community to join. Is if they don't talk about everything, the good, the bad, the ugly, you probably don't want to follow them, because they're probably going to give you misleading information. But then also, no country is perfect. Um Also, you don't want to be scammed by somebody telling you to just go get this document and that's all you need. So really be careful when you are looking for the community you want to be in. I will list the three communities that I um, have been following um, in the description, but please don't take my word for it. Do your own research. The other reason there are so many communities is because what works for one person is not going to work for another person. And also, we have different personalities. So, like, the type of people that I like to get my information from might not be the type of people you like to get your information from. And also, people are experts in different things. At one time, I was thinking about going to Greece, because one of the influencers that I follow who has a community, that's where they live. Um, and at the time, that was very appealing to me, and so I followed her. She has a course. She helps people move everywhere, but she is uniquely qualified to help people move to that part of the EU. I follow another person who is just very blunt and upfront about everything about moving abroad. And they have lived abroad for, I think, like 15, 20 years. And I really enjoy her bluntness. That bluntness is not going to work for everybody, but I like people who just get to the point and they're like, these are the facts. But they help people move all over the world, and they have a network um, of immigration attorneys and all these other things, and that is what makes their particular community so appealing. Um, but like I said, do your research, but joining a community or even finding a couple of people on Twitter who you can verify have moved to South Korea or Japan or China, and you can shoot them a message, um, is going to be really great. You're gonna feel so much better. One of the things people just does not cross their mind at all is what your day to day life really is gonna be like in a foreign country. Like, um, how are you gonna get around? How are you gonna communicate with people? How are you gonna eat? Um, because you're so excited, or you're so stressed out and overwhelmed about, being here in the US, and you're doing everything you can to leave, that sometimes these more simple things go right over our head. So, wherever you decide to land first doesn't mean you have to stay there forever. Is think about, okay, how am I going to get around day to day? Is this a place like South Korea? I could walk out any hotel, any Airbnb, pretty much any place I'm staying, And within 3 to 5 minutes, there's going to be a convenience store unless I'm really not in any city. Are you going to have a car to live somewhere? Um, are there taxis there? What is public transportation like? How safe is the country? Then are you going to like the food? And I know this kind of doesn't seem that important because yeah, you can go to the grocery store and make your own food, but like the things that you like to eat in America are probably not in a lot of other countries because most countries ban like 60-80% of the things that we eat. So if your food preference is certain things, is that something that you're going to be able to get when you move? And is that even important to you? For me, I'm not a big foodie. I I eat to survive, basically. But when I have a really good meal, I'm really happy. And I did realize that when we were in South Korea, it was a little challenging for me to find food in a lot of the restaurants that we went to. Um, but people were very nice and accommodating. So these are just things that you wanna think about. Um, and I wouldn't let any of them deter me from going, but maybe it makes you make a different decision about where you want to go. Now, I was able to eat, especially towards the end of our trip in South Korea, once I figured things out. And this is a something that a lot of people don't think about. I've seen a lot of people talk about, especially in South Korea, like if you go there and you're single, South Korea, even though a lot of people aren't getting married, South Korea is a very coupley place. There are couples everywhere. And at first, when I was there, I didn't see it. But by the end of the trip, because of the places we were going, there were couples everywhere. Um, and if you are not in a couple, are you going to feel comfortable being around so many couples all the time? There are some things you can't do unless you are in a couple or you have a really good friend. Like some restaurants aren't going to take single people. Um, some things you can't order unless you're with another person. So I want you guys to think about the culture that you're going to be a part of when you move there. And this is why also building a community, finding a community of people who've moved abroad, and also finding groups of other foreigners in that country to connect with is going to be so important because I've heard so many people talk about how when they first got there, South Korea, or wherever they moved, if they weren't in school or something like that, how lonely they were because they just didn't know anybody and the culture is so different. So you have to find ways to engage with other people. Now, this is even more so if you are a introvert like myself, but also doing a lot of freelance or work from home work. Like for me here in the US, um, I don't go out a lot. I stay home a lot, but I do always have the option to go see a family member or I go to church twice a week, pretty much every week. So I am connecting with people or have the option to connect with people. If you are living in a foreign country, are you going to have that support? And if you did not have that support, how do you think you're going to feel emotionally? And if the answer is, I think I'd be down, a little depressed, a little sad, then take the time now to find communities where you're going. Even if that's not the place where you're going to stay forever, even if you're only thinking, okay, this is the easiest place for me to go for 3 months, like you could go to South Korea for 3 months um, on a tourist visa and be completely fine. If you decide I'm going to such and such country for a couple of months and just chill out while I figure out whatever else, um, you still need to find people to connect with. And you don't have to go out with them every day. But humans, even us introverts, are social creatures and we need to connect with each other however much you personally like. So I think that's it. I just wanted to talk about some things off the cuff. Um, that a lot of us don't take into account, and some things that would be very helpful for those of you moving abroad, because I know how overwhelming it can be. I've off and on been kind of planning to move out of the country for a while now. I started looking into moving abroad about 10 years ago. First started looking into it. And then kind of put it on the back burner because of things. But seriously, for the last year and a half, there are people who decide they're going to move abroad and move in 3 months or 6 months. It does not take a year and a half to do it. You just have to be ready to do it. There's a lot that goes into it. So if you have any questions and I can answer them, I will. But I suggest that you find a community. And again, the 3 that I follow, I will put um, in the pinned comment and in the description. And if you don't pick one of those communities, please find another one, because moving abroad, while exciting as it is a lot of work. And it can be very overwhelming and a lot to think about. So I just want you guys to be careful, and I'll see you in the next one. Anyo. City lights flash like fireflies, chasing dreams through midnight skies. Every heartbeat fuels